Hello and welcome back. My name is Avilas and you are watching Selenium Express. And in this video, maybe in this series of video, we're going to be learning about Spring Security. You might ask me that, okay, Vilas, you already have a course available for Spring Security. But the thing is, I have uploaded it 2 years back. And the beginners right now having a little bit of problem following that course, because initially the first 3 or 4 videos, a lot of things has been changed in Spring Security 6. And if you're using Spring Boot 3.0, then the problem is like the Spring Boot 3.0 internally used the Spring Security 6. In my last set of tutorial, I have used the Spring 5 version and the Spring Boot 2 version, and that's where the problem is being caused. So in this series of tutorials or in this series of videos, we're going to be learning Spring Security in depth. So treat this one as a new course on Spring Security. And if you are my old viewer, you know like how I progress. I progress step by step and right from the scratch. So what I'm going to be doing, I won't be using Spring Boot initially for the next 4-5 lessons. I am going to configure everything in raw Spring, and I'll be covering a lot of different components which has been involved, and we're going to be setting up everything by ourselves in the initial 4 or 5 videos. I hope you are excited to configure everything by yourself and configure a complete Spring project with all latest configuration that we're going to be having. I hope we're going to be having a lot of fun. Okay, before I get started, one simple thing I want to tell you. If you are already following my Spring Security course, which is available for free on YouTube, keep on following, because if you're not having any issue, there is nothing changed over there. That course is 110% relevant even today. But the only problem is little bit of deprecation happened, or some version changed and some configuration related changes happened, and that's what is going to be the focus on this brand new Spring Security course. But anyway, if you're a beginner and have no idea about Spring Security, want to start it from absolute scratch, just go along with this course. I hope that you are not going to have any issue while following this up. But as usual, Spring Security is a little bit of complex module. So make sure that you are practicing everything, following off everything. Most importantly, you are coding everything that I'm going to code over here, and keep it going for next 10 to 12 days and see how it goes, right? So let's just get started right from scratch. So in this video, let's just set up our project environment and let's just introduce Spring Security to our application. Okay, so the basic requirement for today. Okay guys, so let's forget everything. Let's just get started with a very simple requirement. Okay, so like the normal flow, all right, normal flow of MVC. So the way it works, and guys, what I'm planning, first I'll be doing everything, all types of configuration by myself for a day or a couple of days. Then I'll be jumping back to Spring Boot, because we're going to be talking about the security auto configuration. If you don't have the foundation on Spring Security, the auto configuration will look crazy. So let's just try to set up the Spring Security by starting from scratch, by creating a very fresh project which is not a Spring Boot project, configuring everything, the raw Spring with ourselves. Then we will be jumping back to Spring Boot maybe from tomorrow or from day after tomorrow. Okay, so this is what I'm planning to do right now. Let's say I have a controller called hi controller, which has a couple of endpoints /hi and /hello. Very simple. Like that, I will have another controller, let's say by controller, which will have a by endpoint. Okay, and all these things are controllers. And to be very specific, these controllers, the way we create controllers in Spring, the Spring uses Servlet behind the scene. So whenever you create any kind of controllers, these controllers are nothing but servlets, right? Cool. So right now, all these controllers, we are deploying it inside a server, like a web server, like Tomcat. And basically what we do, whenever we hit any request to our controllers, this request comes from the client. Let's say the client is hitting the /hi, but this request will not hit the controller directly. It will hit someone else. Anybody know who is that guy? Like this request will hit whom first? Anyone? Dispatcher servlet, front controller, right? Yeah, it's a front controller. Imagine this front controller is like, is mapped with an endpoint / star. That means this is the URL pattern, and this front controller can handle any kind of request. So this request starting from /hi, so it started from /, so this front controller can handle it because it can handle any kind of request which is starting from /star. Then the front controller knows whom to dispatch the request. Is dispatch the request to, let's say, one of the controller which has this particular endpoint called /hi, which is the client looking for. So the front controller knows to which controller it will dispatch the request. Then that endpoint will respond the front controller back, and the front controller give the response back to the client. Normal flow, everybody knows about it. I think the people who are here at least. And now this is the very simple thing. Now the special thing that we're going to be looking from now on is this. Imagine I have just removed that front controller just to get some space over here. Now we are basically accepting the request from the client, and we're allowing the request to go through our web server and it is hitting our controller directly, right? We will not be doing that right now. Rather, what we will do, before this request reach this controller, we're going to be having some security filters. We're going to be having some filters like this. And what is the work of the filter in Java or in J2EE? Very simple. The filters are going to intercept the request. It is going to, before the request reach here, it need to pass through each of these filters, right? So all these filters, treat them as a security guard like this, okay? So all this filter job will be, they will be doing some validation to this request, that whether this request is a valid request and whether this request is coming from an authorized client, and whether these guys should allow this request to reach to our resources, because this high controller, by controller, X controller, Y controller will have endpoints which is developed by our team, which will serve some resources. And we do not want our resources should be accessed by somebody who is not authorized. For an example, you are having access to my courses, right? So you guys are authorized to access to the courses that you are enrolled to, okay? So not everyone will have access to that. Just like that. Some resources which you can only access if you are authorized, okay? So these guys will do that particular things, right? It will be like, there will be some, there will be like some security guards, right? All these filters. Okay, to be very specific, this filter, for an example, this is a filter. This filter job is to show you the login page. Okay, so before the client will hit our endpoint, before that we will show him a login page, and this filter job is to show the login page and ask the user, enter the data like your username and password before you have access to my resources, because I want to check whether you are a valid user, whether your credential details are there in my database. Like that, this filter, let's say it is another filter which is going to check or authenticate the REST request. Let's say if it is not a web application, it's a RESTful application, which is like the HTTP request which will be coming, the HTTP basics request. If I want to validate this request, if it is a REST request, maybe this is the filter which will do that work for me. Okay, there are different filters. Their job will be very specific. Let's say once you put the username and password, there might be another filter which will match whether the user and the password is matching. Okay, and only the user and password is matching, which is there in your database. This filter will do that authentication thing and will allow this request to hit to the controller. Okay, so what I mean to say is that there are many different filters which is going to intercept the request, and your request will go through all these filters. And today we're going to be setting off all these filters by ourselves. Okay, and in Spring we don't have to set off all these filters by ourselves. In Spring, all these filters are already built the Spring has already created this kind of filters for us. We can use Spring Security Framework to get access to these filters, and we can simply put them before our application so that our application endpoints will be secured, right? So today we're going to be creating a Spring application. We'll be writing all these endpoints, and we're going to be using Spring Security to get access to all these things. We're going to be setting off all these things, and we're going to be seeing whether we are able to secure all our endpoints. So in one line, today we are just going to do the exact same thing that you are seeing on your screen right now. We'll be creating some URLs, and we'll be protecting them using the Spring Security. The requirement is clear. What I'm trying to achieve here, the same thing I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be creating some resources, and I'm going to be securing them using Spring Security. Requirement is clear, guys? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Yes.
all these filters comes before dispense servlet, right?
We will see that. We'll see that in the log, Rakesh. Just give me a minute. Okay, I'll just set up everything and we'll see it in the log. The dispatcher servlet will initialize first, and then the security will trigger after that. Okay, we'll see that in log, and we'll confirm it one more time. So basically, let me go to my STS. As I have told you guys, I will not be using Spring Boot today. I'll be just creating everything by myself. I just want to see, like, what are the dependency I have to add, what are the configuration I have to add, so that I can see, like, how these things has been done in Spring Boot security, so that we're going to be having a good understanding. Okay, so let's just create a project. So I'm going to be creating a Maven project like this. So Maven project, and I'm going to be doing a next, and I will be using a Maven archetype web app. Do a next, and the artifact will be let's say SE security or something. SE stands for Selenium Express. You can write anything. SE security 01, and the package, let's say com.seleniumexpress.se SE app or something. Okay, something like I'm just creating randomly, and I'm gonna be doing a finish. Let it create the Maven project. Let's see if we can set up everything. A lot of people are having problem here, so let's just see, like, what has been changed. So it's generating the project. I'm creating a new web app over here using Maven. So okay, first of all, we have two problems here. Okay, in the web app, I have a problem because of the index.jsp. Maybe this page is not compiled fine. And what it is asking me, it is asking me that the superclass HTTP servlet is not found in the class path. Okay, let me add this dependency to get rid of this error. Okay, let's just do that. We can, because I'm using a older version here, so it is asking me to add this dependency, Java X servlet HTTP servlet, right? But recently we have the newer version of HTTP servlet, which is from Jakarta, not from the Java X. But as it is asking me just to fix this error, let me just add this dependency. So okay, let me go to the Maven repository. Let me quickly do this because we just want to get into the topic. I don't want to spend time on this configuration stuff. So let's say Java X servlet, and right here you can see it's already moved to the Jakarta servlet API. But yeah, it is asking me, as my ID is asking me just to fix that error, the JSP compilation problem. Let me just add this dependency in my pom.xml. I'll go to the dependency right here and just paste it over here just to fix this issue. And this is some JUnit dependency which is there by default, I feel. And this is my servlet dependency. Do a Control S. I think this issue should go away. Is it going? Let me just do a Maven update. Maven update project. First update. Yeah, this issue is gone because this JSP page right now compiles fine. The problem is, guys, if you're gonna see in my properties, if I'm gonna go to my project facets, the dynamic web module version is 2.3. Okay, so which is Java 1.3 or newer. So actually I have to change it to 6.1. for the Java 11 or newer. But as it is 2.3, it is asking me the older servlet dependency. So that's why I've just added it. That's fine. That's fine. We can just ignore it. And another thing in the pom.xml, I'm having another problem. And this is because of cannot access default field properties. My Maven version, my Maven compiler is an older Maven compiler. So let me just update my Maven compiler as well. Okay. So to do that, basically I'm creating a web application. So I'm writing WAR files. So I will just update my compiler to get rid of this particular issue. Cannot access default fields of properties. So I'll just write a plugin. Not needed for you might be, but I'm just writing it just to get started, right? So I will just write plugin. Okay, inside the build right here, maybe I'll come down and I'll just write some plugin and I'll update my Maven plugin. Maybe the WAR plugin I'll update, and I think this issue will be fixed. So can I go to my stickies? This is my plugin, only the WAR plugin maybe I need. You don't have to do this maybe, but in case you are getting the same issue, just update your plugin and put it inside the plugins right here. Okay. And this is just your, one second. This is just your Maven WAR plugin. The version I'm changing it to 3.3.1. So which is the newer version. And now I can see this issue is gone. And yeah, my project looks good and clean. So I can just get started, right? Cool. So this couple of things are done. So what is the first thing that I'm doing right now? So the first thing, let's just try to create this controller, high controller and buy controller right now. And let's just deploy them inside a web server. Okay, so first of all, I'll go to my folder. I don't have a Java folder here to write my Java code. So what I'm going to do, I'll open this project and I will go to the resources. I will open up this particular project. I'll go inside this source main. You can see I have resources and web app. I have web app and I have source main resources. I just want to create one more folder called Java so that I will be getting the Java. I'll be writing my Java code inside it. So I will just do a refresh. Okay, I have the source main Java. Let me create a controller inside this. And this is going to be my high controller. I'll put it inside a package com.selenium express dot, let's say AC app, some Selenium Express security app will be creating. Okay, this is my high controller. So first of all, I'll be writing a method called public string say hi. And this is going to return, let's say hi everyone. Okay, simple. So these two endpoints I want to create, hi and hello. So how to create the endpoint? Get mapping. So can I write @get mapping right now? I think I won't be able to map it because I don't have a dependency. So let's just go to the pom.xml and let's just get the dependency. So let's just get one more dependency and put it over here inside the dependency and dependency over here. Okay, so the next dependency that I'll be needing right now is the Spring Web dependency. Let's just go over here and let's just get Spring Web, or maybe Spring Web MVC I can get. And this is a Spring Web MVC thing. Right now, let's just start with the very first Spring Spring version. Okay, I will be using this one. 6.0.13. I'll be switching it back to this one, but let's just start with our very first project with the 6.0 version, and also we will notice the changes with the newer version as well. So I'm taking the Spring Framework 6 version. So I'll go over here, just a second, and I'll paste it here. Okay, this is my Spring Framework 6, and obviously this version thing, I told you that I'll be changing it to 6.1 point something directly. So like maybe I'll be changing it to 6. One second. Let me move it to here. I'll be changing it to 6.0.13 later, right? So for now, this version I will not hardcode here. I'll come to here and I'll be writing some properties. Okay, and here let me define a property here. Let's say spring.version, and I'll be using the version. Let's say this is the version for now I'll be using, but later I'll be changing it. So instead of directly putting it over here, let me put it over here and let this use this version dynamically here. So come over here. This is the Spring version I'll be using right here like this, and I'll just get it dynamically from the version that I've defined here. Okay, so now the WebMVC version is this one. This one is what? This one I have defined over here is 6.0.0. So later, whenever I'll be changing my Spring version, I'll just directly change it to over here. All the dependency that I'll be adding from my Spring framework, that will be changed to that version. Okay, good. So all the things I think I have set up. So right now I think I can go to the high controller and I can write my get mapping thing. So I have to do a Maven update. So I'll be getting that thing over here. So Maven update project and force update. I think right now, can we do that? Okay, I haven't saved it. Can I just do a save? So the build will happen. Yeah, it's coming right now. So get mapping. This is going to be my high endpoint, right? And also another endpoint I'll be creating for hello. So I'll move it to here. Okay, cool. So I will also write this a controller, maybe a REST controller. I can write it for now, and I have a couple of endpoints which looks quite good. We can right now we right now have two resources which returns two specific thing over here, and this is the endpoints that we're going to be protecting for now. Okay, and also one more thing that I'll be doing over here in my security, I'm using the Spring framework, and the Spring framework version I'm using Spring 6. So obviously you can see my Java version is right now Java 1.5. I should be changing it 17 plus, at least Java 17 or higher I should be using if I'm using the Spring 6 version. So let me change the Java compiler version as well. So I'll be going over here and look for Java Maven compiler plugin, and maybe I'll just get the plugin from here. This thing, the source and the target. And I'll go to the properties right here, and I'll change my Maven compiler version to Java 19. Maybe you are free to use Java 21 as well, but at least use Java 17, right? Because I'm using Spring 6. So if you're using Spring 6 or Spring Boot 3, the version should be either 17 or 17 plus. Okay, so I think we are good right now. So we have all our setup done. We have changed our Java version as well. Let me just do a Maven update. So I'm going to do Maven update project just to get rid of that Java 5. Now it's changed to Java 19. We have our Spring 6 also set up over here. And now I think the controller is also ready. So no questions so far, right? We are good. Can you confirm me, guys? Guys, no questions so far, right? It's boring. I feel this should be boring because you guys already know about this. Any questions? All good so far?
Yes, Abhilash.
Perfect, perfect. So now we have the controller, right? So we have the controller right now. So all good. So before that, we just need to do one more thing. We need to set up this dispatcher servlet as well, right? So the first thing that we'll be doing right now to set up the dispatcher servlet, I will just go over here to the main source main Java, and I will be creating a new class. And this is going to be my dispatcher servlet initializer. So maybe I'm going to write DS initializer, which is going to set up my dispatcher servlet. And I'll just do a finish. Okay. And right here, I can just do extend this class to one of the Spring class, which will help me to set up the dispatcher servlet. And what is that class? Maybe abstract annotation config dispatcher servlet initializer. This will help me to set up a dispatcher servlet for my application, which is this guy. Okay. And right now we will just configure this path because the dispatcher servlet will handle any kind of request which will be starting from slash. Okay. Like /hi, /hello, and all these things. Okay. So let's just do that. So let's just come back to this. I will override all the unimplemented method. Let's just quickly set it off in 1 minute. So the servlet mapping, it should be the mapping the dispatcher servlet should handle. Now I'll say it will handle all these endpoints. So this is going to be an array. What are the endpoint my dispatcher servlet is going to handle? For now, it is only going to handle all the endpoints which is starting from slash. So everything, any kind of request which is coming to my application, this particular dispatcher servlet is going to be handling that, because I'm just mapping it with slash endpoint over here. And now I will also tell my dispatcher servlet, whenever the dispatcher servlet will be starting, it will create a container and it will create all your beans, right? So right here we have our controller here, right? High controller over here. Maybe I also want to scan this particular controller just to create all my controllers bean. And one more thing I want to do, this DS initializer, I'm going to be putting it inside a different package. So maybe I'm going to create a new package here, and I'm going to be browsing my package. One second. Source folder selection. Okay, let me just directly write com.seleniumexpress.acapp.config, right? So I will move this dispatcher servlet to this package. The configuration related thing, I'll be separating it over here. Okay, and inside this dispatcher servlet right now, what I'll be doing, I'll be setting my configuration, like my configuration class. So I'll be creating a new configuration class. So let me write new class. This is what it is returning, and I'll be writing my class name over here. Let's say I'm going to say my app config dot class. This is the class I'll be creating. Let me create this class inside the package called config. Let's just do a finish. So this is the class I'll be creating, and this is simply going to be my configuration class. So let me write config class. So whenever dispatcher servlet will be starting, it will be using this class to create the container and everything. And whenever it is going to create the container, I want this class to scan my hello controller or hi controller that I have. And this is existing inside this package called com.seleniumexpress.acapp. So let's just go to my config class, and let me just write a component scan annotation over here as well. Okay, and let me just scan it for all the packages starting from com. So this package is also going to be scanned. Okay, so obviously this particular controller will be scanned and the bean will be created inside that particular container. So things are good. And also I think we have to create another controller, right? And this should be called by controller if I'm not wrong. So let me create the by controller as well. Inside the by controller, we'll only have one method called /by, and let's say we have a method called say by, and let's say by everyone, it is returning, right? So we have one more controller called by controller. A couple of controllers are there inside the acapp folder. So I'm just styling this thing. So I have this controller, I have this controller, I have the dispatcher servlet is also set up right now. Okay, all things are good. So high controller and by controller are in place. The initializer class is right now ready. This dispatcher servlet will be created, and it will be creating the container out of this config file. The config file is right now scanning my all the packages starting from com. Now this couple of controllers will be scanned, and they will be going into the container what my dispatcher servlet will be using. Okay, so things are good. So I think we are good. Now one more problem we are getting over here inside the dispatcher servlet initializer class. This class will set up the dispatcher servlet. Why I'm saying it will set up the dispatcher servlet? Because this class that we are extending to will create the dispatcher servlet behind the scene and create the servlet context behind the scene, because this class internally implements another class called web application initializer. So if you are using Servlet 3 plus application or Servlet 4 or Servlet 5, Servlet 4 application, then this is the class you need to implement. So our class that we are extending, it is already implementing this class, which is the programmatic approach to create the servlet context, right? So whenever you will be deploying this particular project, the servlet context will be automatically loaded to your web server, and everything will be automatically set up. So we don't have to care for that. Just create this class and extend to this one, and everything will be done for you automatically. A dispatcher servlet or a front controller will be created with all sort of configuration that you have mentioned over here. Cool, right? So one last problem we are having over here. So it is asking me, so the Spring Framework version that we are using is Spring Framework 6. So it is asking me that the Jakarta servlet, this particular thing, it is not finding. the Jakarta servlet exception cannot be resolved, because internally it is using the servlet, the latest servlet API spec, the Spring Framework 6, this particular class that we are creating, we're extending to this class, and this class is present inside the Spring, it's a Spring class, right? If you're going to do link to editor, look at this. This class is present inside the Spring MVC jar, which is the 6.0 version. So Spring 6 we are using, right? So if you're using Spring 6, internally it uses the servlet spec, but that spec is the servlet spec, which is the new spec. That is from the Jakarta servlet. The one that we have added previously, it is like a different one. It is the Java X servlet one. It is the old, servlet API. So let's just have the new API in. I'll go to the map in, and I will come over here, and I will just look for servlet API, and I'll get the new spec. So let's just go here, servlet API. Even you're going to click on this, it is saying, right, the artifact is moved to here, Jakarta servlet API. Let's just go to the 6.0, and it's released in Jan 1 2022. And let me copy this one, Jakarta servlet API, go back to your project and paste it, and this is the one that we'll be using. Okay, let's just do a Control S. Let's just see if this guy is not giving us any problem. Yes, the problem is fixed. So everything is good. So our project is ready. Let me just do a Maven update just to grab all the dependency, and let me just deploy it to my Tomcat server. So now I've already added a server, the Tomcat 10.1 server. And if you're using Spring 6 version, make sure that you are using Tomcat 10 or plus. Okay. So I'm just deploying my project into the Tomcat 10 because I'm using Spring 6, and let's just see whether I'm able to initialize my dispatcher. And looks like it does initialize. You can see in the console right now the dispatcher has been initialized, and we are good to go. Okay. So initializing the dispatcher servlet, and this is where the servlet has been initialized and is completed. Okay, so cool. Now let's just execute our endpoints. We have hi controller /hi/hello. Let's just go and execute them. /hi working. Hi everyone. /by from the by controller working. /hello from the hi controller is also working and giving us hello everyone. So our basic project setup is done. So we have configured everything by ourselves, and our complete flow is ready. Cool. So far you don't have any questions, right? Don't say me yes, guys. I'll run away if you're gonna say you have a question. I want to hear anyhow, but you should not have any questions.
Can you open the pom.xml once?
Pom.xml? Yeah. Yes.
And so we have at line number 24, we have Java Servlet API also.
I'll be removing it, Rakesh.
Okay.
I just want to get into that because once I remove it, no, it will complain. I have to change some other configuration. But people might not need it. I'm using an older Eclipse. Maybe that's why, because even you don't need it. I'm using a REST API. If you're going to delete this particular source main web app, I have this page, right? So that's why it's like the Maven has generated this particular page, and the project facets it was using before is a older one. That's why that to compile this JSP, it is looking the Servlet API, and internally it is looking for that old API of Servlet. If you're going to delete this particular JSP page, even you don't need that particular thing, or we need to just change one configuration, and we need to use the project spec as the Java 11 or newer. But we will come into that particular thing a little bit later, Rakesh. Just don't want to mess up with the configuration. Okay. Yeah, sure. So far everything is working. I think we guys are good. Let's just come back, okay, from this configuration, and let's just get into the security part. Cool. Let me have some water and we'll get started. 1 second. This is the base thing. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Keep on asking.
My app config.
My app config. Yes, Anil.
Here we don't need to write anything. Like in Spring Boot, we are writing run method, right? No need to write anything, right?
No. Basically here, main method is not required. In the Spring Boot, we are writing main method to start the Spring Boot project, right? That will create the container for us, right? That run method in the Spring Boot. But here, Anil, it is very straightforward. You have written this DS initializer, right? This is going to set up the dispatcher servlet for you. So that's what I'm saying. Whenever we're going to be deploying this particular project inside our Tomcat server, this is the server where we have deployed that particular project. Once we deploy the project, right, this class will be automatically picked up, right? Why it is automatically going to pick up? Because we have this class internally implements this interface, right? And this interface has a on startup method, right? So the class that we have created, the class that we have created, this will be automatically picked up by the Tomcat server, and the servlet context will be created where the dispatcher servlet will be added. So if you're gonna go to this class, this is the class Spring people has written. Maybe you're gonna be finding some method called on startup. If not here, maybe somewhere else, the superclass on startup. See, on startup method which has been overridden from the web application initializer, and it is registering a dispatcher servlet. So whatever the work your run method does, that work will be done by this class. This magic will happen whenever you extend to this class. Internally, the dispatcher servlet will be created, the container will be created, everything will happen automatically, right? The run method does the exact same thing in the Spring Boot case as well, right? So for now, we don't need the run method. This will happen all magically because we implement that interface. We extend to this class, but internally it implements the web application initializer interface, which will be automatically detected by my web server Tomcat and will initialize this class, and my application will start up from there. And you can see there in the log, the dispatcher servlet is initializing already, and we are all ready. Okay, cool. So now my application has been started. Now the thing is, we need to integrate security, right? So we need to do this thing right now. So let's just go to my keynote. And right now we need to bring this guys. This soldier people are there, right? We need to bring them into our application. So how can we do that? So we will not be writing all these filters that we need to make sure that our application is secure. Rather, I'm going to be using a feature from Spring called SpringSecurity to get in these soldiers over here, to get in these filters over here, and I place them just in front of my resources like this, right? So that my request will go through this filters. So the way I'm going to be doing it, I'm going to be creating another class, just like I've written a class called DS Initializer to bootstrap my dispatcher servlet. Like that, I'll be writing another class called, let's say, Security Initializer. Let's say my app Security Initializer, right? And in this class will help me to set up the Spring Security with my project. So how to set it up? Like the dispatcher servlet, we have extend this abstract annotation config dispatcher servlet initializer to set up the dispatcher servlet. Like that, inside the Spring Security Initializer, do we have any class which will help us to set up? Of course, we do have one more class, and that class name is some security initializer, but we will not be getting that class right now because we don't have Spring Security added in our pom.xml. So let me add one more Spring dependency, which will be our Spring Security dependency. We are writing a Spring web application right now, so we'll be protecting our Spring web application using Spring Security. Let me just type Spring Security and search in Maven. Okay, you can see Spring Security Core, Spring Security Web, Spring Security Config. Let me take this guy, Spring Security Web. Okay, let me take any version, but I'll not be using it right now. I'll be using the Spring 6 version, not 6.1.5 version. So let me go over here, copy this tag. I have already defined my version here. Control C this, come over here, the security web version. Now let's just use the basic Spring version that we have defined here, which is 6.0.0. We'll be changing it to 6.1. The reason why I'm doing it, because I want to also show you the version comparison a little bit, because I know in the latest Spring Security version also there are some changes. So I'll be showing you that thing as well. But let's just start with the Spring 6 If you're using Spring Boot 3, the same thing which has been used internally as well. Spring Boot 3 internally used the Spring Security 6 only. Cool. So the security web is ready. Let's just do a Control S. Now let's just go to our My Security Initializer and let's just try to look for that class. Okay. So what is that class? Let me just do extends. And let me just do search for that class a little bit. I don't remember. Can I just do security initializer? Abstract security web application initializer. I think this is the one. Let's just see this class internally implements the web application initializer, right? So the same class what your dispatcher servlet internally implements, the same class, this class also internally implements the web application initializer. I told you, any of your class, if it is implementing web application initializer, mean that class will be automatically detected by your web server. So let's just do one thing. Let's just use this class abstract security web application initializer, right? Can I just go to the documentation a little bit? See, register DelegatingFilterProxy. I'll tell you what do you mean by this. To use the SpringSecurityFilterChain before any other registered filter. Okay. So I will tell you what do you mean by that. So basically just think like this, guys. So I will go to my documentation. See, all these chains in Spring Security, these filters, these are number of filters, right? This is one filter, this is one filter, this is one filter. So there are like many filters are there. So Spring Security has something called Spring Security Filter Chain, which is a chain of filters. These are like chain of filters, right? So these filters in Spring language, we call them Security Filter Chain. Okay, Security Filter Chain. Now to set up this Security Filter Chain, before this, there is one more filter is there that is called Delegating Filter Chain. We will go deep dive on that. So basically that will bootstrap the Spring Security. For today, you just remember this much. So to set up this, guys, this is Spring Security Filter Chain. Before that, we have to set up another component of Spring, which will help us to set up these three things. This is called Security Filter Chain. The other thing that we're trying to set up right now called Delegating Security Filter Chain. And to set up this guy, Spring Security Delegating Filter Proxy, we need to do what? We need to take use of this class, cut this class, copy this, go to the own class that you are writing and extend it to this class. That's it. You don't have to do anything. Just import the class. That's it. So now this class is going to help us to set up Spring Security in our application. Why? Internally, this class implements already the web application initializer. So automatically this class will be detected by our Tomcat server. And that thing that I'm telling you right now, which will help me to set up that Spring Security thing, automatically it will happen behind the scene only, right? 1 second. Okay. You can connect the dot, guys, in a minute. So don't worry about it. Just remember this class is helping us to set up the Spring Security. Now the Spring Security is ready in my application. I have not done anything. I have just extended to this class. That's it. 1 second. Okay. Now let me just do another thing. Let's just do a map and update. What is happening? 1 second. Let's just do a map and update. I'm going to do a map and update project. Force update. Do an OK. Cool. Let's just see whether our application is secured right now. Let's just do a run as and let me okay, it is already there, right? So it is automatically deploying my application. Let's just go over here to my endpoint. Let's just try to hit any of my endpoint right now. Enter. Well, now something happened. I'm not able to access my /hello endpoint. So basically some filters are interrupting behind the scene before my request reached to the /hello endpoint. Some filters are protecting it. Okay, but what it is saying? It is saying no bean named security filter chain is available. Okay, so basically what is happening right now? I am trying to set off Spring Security in my application. Okay, I'm using my app security initializer and extending this class. This class is going to help me initialize Spring Security in my application. But this class will not basically create this filter. These are the chain of filters that I have, what I call the security filter chain, right? The class that I have set up right now, there is another class that I have set up like this over here. This class is just helping me to set up Spring Security, and this one that I have just created over here, this one. Okay, overall you think I have put another thing in Spring Security. The internal structure is something different, just the way that I am showing you over here. And this is the component that we have set up right now. And this component by default will look for something called security filter chain that we have to set up. Now, basically you are getting no bean named Spring Security Filter Chain is available. So the Spring framework right now is setting up Spring Security, is looking for a bean internally called Spring Security Filter Chain, which is that chain of filters that we have. Okay, so to create that bean, what we have to do, we have to create another class. Okay, like this class, let's say security app config. Let's say there is a config class, and in this class, this is going to be my configuration class. I'm going to be writing @configuration over here. And this class job is going to set up some bean. What bean? We are looking for a bean right now called Spring Security Filter Chain. This bean we want to create. I can create a Spring Security Filter Chain bean over here, but I will not be creating that particular bean by myself. Okay. Let me add one annotation. That annotation only will create this particular bean for me. Okay. Spring Security Filter Chain. Let's just see what is that annotation. And that annotation is EnableWebSecurity, but we don't have that annotation over here. To get it, I will go to the Maven repository. I'll just search for Spring Security again. Spring Security again, right over here. And I'll go to this one, this particular dependency we need. Spring Security config. Okay. Let me just copy the config dependency. Go to the pom.xml and paste that dependency. Okay, and grab the version. Just change the version for now to the to this version. Okay, and this is my go back, this version, right? Spring Security version, which is defined over here, this one. Okay, let's just do a Control S. Okay, good. So we have right now the Spring Security config dependency. Right now, let's just go to my security app config class and let's just write that annotation, EnableWebSecurity. Look at that. We already have this guy. Now this guy will help me to create a filter chain, right? Internally, this will help you to create a filter chain. I'll show you how it is creating. Just trust me for now, because I don't want to get into so many technical terms right now. Just remember this, and this annotation is going to help you to create this chain. Okay, so now let's just see whether that is happening. Let's just do a Control S. Okay, and I will go right now to my Google Chrome. Okay, let's just go to my application. Let's just do a enter. Is it restarted? Okay, one second. Let me just stop this and let me just update this. Let me just do Maven update project, force update, and let's just deploy this one more time. Run on server, save everything. Or the POM was not saved previously. Okay, let me just update it, redeploy my project one more time. Okay, my dispatcher is initialized. Cool. Now you look at that. Now you cannot access any page. If you're going to write hi, it is showing you a login page. If you're going to say bye, it is showing you a login page. If you're writing hello, it is showing you a login page. That means everything is in place. Right now, our Spring Security Filter Chain has been created. And this guy helped me to create a Spring Security Filter Chain. So if you want to see that, just write debug equal to true. Okay, never do it in the production. Just for showing you, I'm just writing this particular thing because it is going to put some sensitive information in your console right now. Now I have done some code changes. Okay, And now let's just try to hit some endpoint. Let's say /hi, enter. Okay, now look at that. Whenever you are hitting /hi, this is your application, and like this is your application that you have deployed on your server. And now security debugging is enabled because I have written that debug equal to true, and you can see there are some filters over here, and this is your Spring Security Filter Chain. All these guys are one filter that the Spring Security people has created for me, and whenever any incoming request is coming to my server, that request will go through all these filters, and these filters are one security guard for me, which is going to help me to protect my resources. What are they? Forget about it. But one of the filter you can see that is called default login page generating filter. This filter job is to show you the login page, right? And this is why you are seeing this login page, right? So whenever you are hitting any request like hi, bye, hello, it is not letting you to hit the resources directly. Before that, it is showing you a login page and asking you to log in, right? So we have to do something over here to log in from here, right? So we have the security filter chain in place. We have these guys in place. So guys, so far, do you have any question? You should have a question, because right now you should have question. Ask me those questions. Yes. Come on, like what are the things which is popping out in your mind right now? Anything what you feel, okay, well, how these things is happening, just show me, or something which should be, you should be having some questions, right? Any questions from your end? Matanki, if you have any question. Bhagya?
Vilas,
Yeah, Rakesh? Yes.
so the list of filter chain that you have shown us, so
Yes.
will all the filters will get executed, or any specific filter will get executed?
So for now, all the filters will be executed, Rakesh, but it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't. So see, for an example, I told you two things. See, now when the request is coming to your to one of the resources, I told you that many filters will be there. Okay, and these are called our Spring Security Filter Chain. Let's say right now we have a web application, right? So let's say obviously, so okay, one second. Okay, for an example, we are building a web application, right? So the login page will be shown to the user. Okay, so the user can log in. So for that, this login thing is there. What is that? Default login page generator filter will be invoked. This filter job is to show the login page, but maybe this filter will not be executed. Okay, this is called basic authentication filter. There should be few more. Maybe that is enabled by default or not. Let me just check. 1 second. Default username, logout filter. For an example, logout filter is there. Okay, am I doing logout? No, I'm trying to do login. So the logout filter job is not there. So the logout filter will be invoked but will not do anything. So yes, if your question is if all the filters will be executed, yes, all the filters will be executed, but it doesn't really matter that if any specific filter, like filters can be skipped as well. If they do not have any work to do, if the thing that we're trying to how can I put it in simple word? Like if something if some filter does not have any role of validating a request, they will be simply skipped. Okay. Right now in this case, this filter is getting triggered, default login generating filter, and this is why we're seeing the login page over here, because this is internally generating me this particular HTML page, because this page I have not created it, but the other filters are also getting invoked, but if they do not have any work to do, they will be simply skipped. Okay.
Abhilash,
Yes.
where we have to set up the username and password and
Exactly.
what we should give to login.
Exactly. Now you cannot actually log in, Bhagya. Now you cannot actually log in. See, if you're trying to put any of the username and password, it is asking you that there is no authentication provider found. So I'll tell you, this is one very beautiful term, no authentication provider found for username password authentication token. So there are a lot of things happening behind the scene. Let's not try to understand this error right now for today, but simply I will answer your question. You mean how can I log in? How to set up future? Okay, that's a good question.
Correct.
Yeah, so we will focus on this and we'll try to understand this maybe after a couple of sessions or after 3 or 4 sessions. Okay, coming back to this. Okay, this filter thing is clear, right? So we have a chain of filters. We can see it over here right now. Yeah, any other question?
One more question.
Yeah, Rakesh.
So the list of filters that we can see over here, so will they get executed in the same order as it's specified over here?
Yeah, the ordering thing also, again, I'm going to be coming back to this, Rakesh. The way there will be a for loop basically, which will execute all this filter, step by step. We will be going into that maybe in the end of the course, Rakesh. That will make the things lot of, it will make, like this is kind of things which is going to involve a lot of different components. But there is a guy called DelegatingFilterProxy. I told you now, Rakesh. That guy will do that particular thing. The first thing that you have done, I told you, you think like before executing all this filter chain, there is one more guy present. Everyone just remember this and I will come back to this. So your request will first hit to this guy and this guy will do what? This guy will, throw this request to this filter chain. So your request will not directly hit to the SpringSecurityFilterChain, which is this one. Rather, it will hit to this one, which will be a DelegatingFilterProxy. The name is DelegatingFilterProxy. That will throw the request to here. Okay. So that guy will invoke this filter one by one. There is a for loop. It will iterate all this filter. But we will go into this. Let's not complicate the thing. Okay. Very simple. Okay, now coming back to all, and guys, just give me 1 minute. I will show you one more thing. Okay, if you have any question, okay, Vilas, how that thing is happening, little bit you tell me. So I told you this is the class which will help you to set up Spring Security. If you are a beginner, that's it. Okay, cool. But if you want to go a little bit of internal, just go to this class. You're going to be finding that, okay, this class implements the web application initializer. This class is going to help you to detect your class automatically, and it has an on startup method. So we have an implementation for this class, and that class is the previous class that I have shown you, this one, and this one implements this one. So if you're going to see, there is an on startup method inside the on, because obviously this on startup method will be execute automatically. Once you deploy your code in your application, Spring people has written some code. We don't have to understand them. Don't look at this code. But this is the method which will be automatically invoked once you place your application in your Tomcat server. And you can see this class is going to do what? It is going to help you to set off your application. I told you this is your Spring Security initializer. This is going to set off your Spring Security application. Internally, this class has a method called onStartup. This onStartup method is going to do what? It is going to insert the Spring Security filter chain. You can look at that. Inside the Servlet context, it is going to insert the Spring Security filter chain. If you're going to go into the Spring Security filter chain, you can see it will create a chain of filters. Internally, Spring will create the chain of filters and it will insert it. You don't have to do this, guys. Just think, just for your understanding. That's why I'm showing you the code a little bit. No need to go mad, but you can see it is creating something called DelegatingFilterProxy. And you can see right now, whenever it is going to insert the filter chain, the default filter name is what? You can see the filter name. There is some variable they have assigned called default filter name. See, the filter name is Spring Security Filter Chain, right? So whenever you are basically extending to this class internally looking for a bean, and that bean name is what? That bean name is this one called Spring Security Filter Chain. And that's why whenever you have created this class and you have not created your security application, because this is the class which is internally creating that particular bean called security filter chain. If you're not writing this annotation mean, there will be a problem, because if you're gonna hit this any endpoint, let's say hi, hello, bye, it is looking for this Spring Security Filter Chain. No bean is found, because internally that class only looking for this particular bean. And what is happening? Whenever we are annotating this class with EnableWebSecurity, internally this class only is creating this particular bean called SpringSecurityFilterChain. You want to see if you're gonna go to this annotation, and if you're gonna go to this, see this annotation is importing configuration from lot of other classes. We don't have to give a damn about it, but I'm telling you one class, Spring Security Configuration. If you go into this here, guys, if I'm gonna drag down, you might be seeing a bean. Let me just check. See, Spring Security Filter Chain. There is a bean they are creating. Name is Spring Security Filter Chain. Returning a filter. What is the name of the bean they are creating? We don't have to give a damn about the code. Just understand that whenever we are writing this annotation, enable web security, this annotation internally importing another configuration. This inside this configuration, there is a bean they are creating internally. This is the Spring Security Filter Chain bean. What is the bean name? Look at the bean name. Bean name is what? See, it is referring to the same class, abstract security, whatever, default filter name, and the filter name, the default filter name is what? Spring Security Filter Chain, right? So that is the bean which is internally they are creating inside this, right? So whenever you are writing this annotation, magic is happening behind the scene, and that magic is happening because that bean, it is creating that bean, creating this bean internally. So that's why whenever you are uncommenting this annotation, see this annotation right now will create the bean Spring Security Filter Chain internally, what Spring Security Framework is looking for. And if you want to write now, enter, see all your filters chain is created, and that's why you are able to see all your filter chain. Now one of the filter chain is right over here called default login page generating filter, which is basically helping you to generate this particular page. Right now we have to do something to set up some username and password, as Bhagya said, to proceed further. What is the time? Let's just wrap up today. Tomorrow we're going to be doing it. So for today, you come till here you practice. Nothing I have done, guys. See, I'm telling you from the beginning. Okay, today is Tuesday. Anyhow, we didn't have any session today. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Your regular class is going to happen, right? So guys, if you are planning to attend my Spring Security session, even 10, 20, 5, 15, whatever people, I want you guys to be consistent and practice with me. And let me tell you, if you understand this, your interview process will be very easy. As a developer, you will be good. As a microservices developer, you will be good. Spring Boot security is also damn easy. So security is a very complex thing, and it is very simple if you understand from scratch. This is not like any MVC module we are learning or any data JPA module we are learning. If you missed one session, next session will be fresh. This will be a continuous session. You can miss session, but in case you miss, if you are missing it, make sure that you are in sync with me. Then only this module will help. Okay. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about some more components. You don't really have to worry if you don't understand few things like I told you few terms, just understand those terms like Spring Security Filter Chain. There is something I told you. Whenever I'm saying Spring Security Filter Chain, think about this guy. This is the array of filters which is Spring is setting up by default. It is setting up by default whenever I'm writing my annotation. Okay, this is setting up the bean. I have written this class. This is setting off it is bootstrapping Spring Security for my application. Just think like this is creating some delegating filter proxy. Just listen to this name. You don't have to digest anything. Delegating filter proxy. These terms, right, that I'm using, just get acquainted with this. And don't try to memorize them. Just acquainted with them, and eventually we will be having deep dive. Okay. So tomorrow, we'll, yeah, yes, guys.
Can I think like, for example, if we use Spring Boot, this class, no need to create, right?
No need to create, Bhagya. All this thing will happen automatically. This initializer will happen automatically. Dispatcher servlet will also create. Dispatcher servlet will happen automatically. This enable web security will also trigger automatically because auto configuration feature is there. No, that's why, Bhagya, once we write this application for the 3 more days, we'll jump to Spring Boot and we'll see how that auto configuration is happening. Okay, that time you will not be asking me, okay, Vilas, what is the role of this enable web security and blah 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 things, right? Because those things right now I'm going to configure by myself, including the version of 6.0 and 6.1, and I'll show you also what are the differences. So if you are using 5.7, then you also have videos available with Spring Boot 1.5 and Spring Security 5.7. In case you are using the latest configuration, all of you guys who are going to use this particular playlist, it will be going to your paid course. The paid course called Spring Boot 3, which is running right now. We'll have the Spring Security playlist over there. There you'll be finding all these videos and then the Spring Boot videos related to Spring Security. It is going to be a module that we have to really invest some time on, guys. Okay, and I want it to be done everything, the JWT, the auth, the Spring Security, and the boot thing. Let's just wrap it up within 30-35 days, right? It is going to be a course by itself. It's not like Spring Security is a day job or something. If you want to complete it within 5-10 days, that is also possible, but that will never make you confident. Let me just tell you. And invest time, start practicing the same thing. I'm just pushing this particular videos by 11 or 1 p.m. today. Okay, so just go ahead and practice it. Okay.
Abhilash.
Yes.
And before wrapping that, can you please show me Kafka sessions? I mean, where you upload?
Bhagya, I'll be sending you that maybe after the call.
Don't sleep.
Yeah, I'll be just sending you the link maybe after the call. And guys, one more thing, maybe today, not for today, for this week, guys, let's just connect it. You guys will be joining Kafka session today. Can you confirm me? Okay.
Yes, bro.